not temperamentally known to do something like that.
That's exactly why.
So when I kind of do things like that, and gets a bit blown out of proportion. So yeah, sometimes I be careful what I do. But at other times, I've got to let myself go, right? I've always said this. I've got to, whatever may be my reputation, so to speak. I've always been human. I've always said that there have been many times in my career at times where I've done things that on reflection I could reflect on and think that hey, maybe I could have done things differently. And, John and Saurabh, they came to me, like you said rightly, I was the vice captain, so it's kind of in some ways already in that discussion. So yeah, they came to me and said, what did I think of the idea? I kind of thought, yes, fair enough. It seemed like a pretty reasonable idea because Laxman had been batting beautifully in the first innings, had batted really well. I've always really enjoyed batting alongside Laxman because he was a fantastic player, right? A tremendous player, a great player to watch. So you batting with him, you got a really good seat in the house because he played some incredible shots and he had that tremendous creativity with the bat, but also very calm personality. Did not really get frazzled or hassled by too many things. Phenomenal story, right, for Bhaji, to have had issues with his action and then to come back. Anil Kumble not being there, was our premium #1 spinner. Bhaji got support from other people, but really he had to bear the load in that series. And for a young man to bear that load in the series the way he did was phenomenal, right? Me and Laxman, to be honest, had some experience, right? We were slightly, I wouldn't say we were veterans, but we were 4 or 5 years down the road in international cricket. Bhaji was, just making a comeback series under a lot of pressure. Phenomenal bowler, an absolute legend of the game, And there's no doubt that, there were times I certainly felt that, he kind of had taken my wicket. He had the wood over me, or in some ways I hadn't really put up a big score against him, right? Even my first tour in Australia in '99, I had got out to him a few times and hadn't scored runs. So, like against bowlers like that, right, you want to get a big score, right, to set the mark. I mean, I scored a few 50s when we played them in '97, and I had scored some runs in that series. But just recently, I felt that I probably wasn't. I mean, he was getting me out and wasn't bowling. They're batting that well against him. So yeah, so in some ways. It felt good to score against a great bowler like that, and to be able to score runs and to be able to play him as well as I did was great. Gave me a lot of satisfaction. Yeah, I'm not temperamentally known to do something like that.
That's exactly why.
So when I kind of do things like that, and gets a bit blown out of proportion. So yeah, sometimes I be careful what I do, but at other times I've got to let myself go, right? I've always said this. I've got to. Whatever may be my reputation, so to speak, I've always been human. I've always said that, there have been many times in my career at times where I've done things that on reflection I could reflect on and think that, hey, maybe I could have done things differently. And, that's how it goes, and we all have moments. Played a long time, so, you're always going to have times when you're going to make some mistakes. No, not really. I mean, I was not someone who got fired up by, by too much of sledging. To be fair, I don't really think that on the field, I mean, at least I personally didn't really face a lot of sledging from the Australians, to be very honest with you. I think they're like such good cricketers, man. I mean, a guy like Migra, Warne, these guys, such great bowlers, man. I mean, they didn't really need to say too much to you, man. They just, generally, you were tense enough facing them, right? So, I to be very honest, I think, I mean, I can't answer for other people, but personally, I never felt that they ever went kind of, it was too much. I mean, of course, the odd word is said here and there. It's not that we didn't hold back.
Okay.
We said stuff, and we put the pressure on them as soon as, we, like on that final day and then in the test match in Chennai when the ascendancy was in our favor, we were, happy to, I think, put the pressure on them and, keep reminding them about what they had lost out and how close they were to winning and those but those are all like kind of harmless kind of stuff. Again, this later, I mean, to be very honest with you, not really something that bothered me too much because, to be honest, he felt he had claimed a fair catch and he was telling me I felt I claimed a fair catch. Now I was telling him that there is technology now and, the umpires, like their job whether they decide to go or not, and they've chosen to go. It's not my decision. Like in those days, it was not like a third umpire thing that I could,
Exactly.
I could ask for it. So the umpires asked for it. I didn't ask for it. I was standing there, and I guess he was upset. So it was fine. I mean, I shook hands with him at the end of the game, and we had a good laugh, and yeah, got on. Yeah. John and Saurav, and sort of they came to me, like you said rightly, I was the vice captain, so it's kind of in some ways already in that discussion. So yeah, they came to me and said, what did I think of the idea? And I thought, yes, fair enough. It seemed like a pretty reasonable idea because Laxman had been batting beautifully in the first innings, had batted really well, had not been knocked out right till the end, and in some ways it kind of made sense to put the guy who was in form up ahead of me at that stage. You can say it did feel a bit odd because it had just been a couple of innings, and does cross your mind at times that hey, are we kind of overreacting in this? But no, I think I think it was kind of just like I think the kind of conversation was maybe just about just going and putting a bit of pressure back on the Aussies, and let's see how we can put them under pressure a little bit because Laxman's playing a lot more free flowing and looks in really good touch at the moment. And yeah, and I kind of then bought into the idea and kind of saw the sense in it and realized that maybe that is the best thing to do. And honestly, it worked out brilliantly. I mean, he was able to bat really well. There was a lot of pressure on them, and then yeah, it just maybe gave me a little bit of time to be able to sit back in the dressing room and reflect on a few things and think about my own batting and think about how I wanted to approach things and go about things in the second innings. And yeah, I guess in the end, when the results work out, then you always say it's a good idea. So there are many times when you have very good ideas and the results don't work out, but yeah, it was one of those things that worked out perfectly for everyone concerned. I've always really enjoyed batting alongside Laxman because he was a fantastic player, right? A tremendous player, a great player to watch. So you batting with him, you got a really good seat in the house because he played some incredible shots and he had that tremendous creativity with the bat, but also very calm personality. Did not really get frazzled or hassled by too many things. And we kind of played a lot of cricket together for the zone and a bit of junior cricket together. So we didn't really, I think both of us were, of course, we communicate a little bit, but we're not like out and out big talkers in the middle. So that kind of suited my game as well. I kind of enjoyed the fact that he would be there if I needed him, but didn't really feel the need to keep constantly chatting and talking all the time. And I think just he scored quite quickly as well when he was set and he was batting. Scored really quickly. Could hit all parts of the ground. Really, he was one of those players who had skills to play all around the wicket really, and didn't feel like there was any kind of bowling that could trouble him. And so yeah, so in some ways you know that you're playing with a really good player. It kind of gives you that confidence. It gives you that. Is that belief? You know that if you do your part, you can build a really big partnership here. In someone who had shown that propensity to score big runs, scores a lot of double hundreds, triple hundreds. He can bat. He could bat for a long time, maintain concentration. Wasn't going to do anything that silly. So you knew that there was a good chance that if you did your part, correct. And you knew that if you did your part. There was an opportunity to put a really good big partnership and really put the game, sort of make a big impact in the game, with respect to the situation. I mean, I had a personal kind of routine that I did before each and every ball, which was just, I learned through kind of trial and error over time. I did just a few specific things. It just before I started playing the ball, it taught me to. I think most guys have a particular routine, and mine was just 2 taps. I moved my feet in a particular way. I got there, I took a couple of breaths, said something like watch the ball, kind of focused on the guy's hand as he ran in, and then focused on the ball as he got really close to the wicket, really, and then just played. Try to just I think the thing is, it's not about the routine that you have, it's just your consistency in doing that each and every ball over and over again. And knowing that it works for you, kind of, I think it doesn't matter what routine you have.
Yeah.
As long as it's a routine that kind of works for you. Laxman had his own routine and he would do things, and you know, he liked to, you know, draw a lot of lines on the pitch
Yes.
and tap the bat and sort of pull his leg at times and, you know, not put my bat out for him to tap and he would, you know, sometimes get a bit grumpy, but then he would, you know, just turn around, yeah, he would come and say, you know, come on. But yeah, I think in time, you know, it's relaxed into the partnership and really enjoy it. Every generation has its great wins, and it's terrible to compare these things. I mean, where do you rate 1971, right? I mean, none of us know about it, but I mean, you know, winning in 71 for the first time overseas, and the West Indies and England, and 83, and there's so many 2011, 21. I mean, there's many moments in Indian cricket, right? And I hate comparing one to the other. Every generation has its moments. Every generation has its It's the great thing about moments like this is that they days and test matches and series like that I think provide an inspiration to the next generation of people, right? So I think what 71 or 83 did to one generation, maybe, you know, things like this test match and 2011 did to one generation, and 2021 is going to do for another generation. And so it's like nice to have these moments and really, you know, sort of moments in Indian cricket, or come from behind victories or unexpected wins or whatever you may call them, so that they inspire the next generation of people. Just no, I mean, I'm not, like, you can't really compare them and say this is better and that is better and this is great and that's great. I think it makes no sense. It's meaningless and it's impossible to compare them. I think in a lot of ways it was a fantastic series, right? Not only that particular test match, but I mean, Australia's incredible win in Bombay and on the back of an amazing 100 from, you know, Hayden and Gilchrist on a turning track, and then for us to do this in Calcutta and turn it around, and, you know, Harbhajan Singh to bowl on the last day and win us a test match with, you know, nearly 100,000 crowd of 100,000 in that Eden Garden in Calcutta, and then to go to Chennai and then win another close game again at a venue that really loves and knows its cricket in the 5 days were probably. So it was a great series, and I think it did a lot in a lot of ways to. First, I think it did a lot for the team because it gave certain stability to the team. I think in the sense that, you know, John Wright, we had got a foreign coach after a long time, for the first time, and obviously there were some doubts and criticism of whether that would work and what might happen, and I think if we hadn't been able to win the series, who knows what might happen, right? It's all conjuncture, right? I can't answer what might have happened, but certainly the pressure would have been on, and it would certainly been on the coach and, you know, captain and people like that, and all of us really. But the fact that we were able to go on to win that series and play some very good cricket, I think meant that it gave us as a group a little bit of breathing space, and I think it gave the senior leadership group some breathing space, it gave the coach some breathing space, and allowed us to build from there on to, you know, a pretty decent and successful run, which kind of culminated in 2009 us becoming, for the first time, I think, number one test team in the world. So, you know, we had ups and downs after that as well, but certainly we were able to kind of move the team in a certain direction from there on, and, you know, I think it kind of allowed us to do that because John was able to then stay on the job for 4 years after that, and, you know, sort of was captaining for that time, and so I think it kind of allowed us to move in that direction. And, you know, what might have happened is conjuncture, but certainly it felt like a really important match and an important series from that perspective. In hindsight, like, I think in hindsight, when you look at a lot of things that happened after that, you know, maybe things might have taken a bit longer. You know, I believe Indian cricket would have got where it needs to get, you know, eventually, but might have taken a little bit longer. And I think just for that group and for all of us, you know, just the stability and just being able to breathe a little bit and to be able to construct a team that then started winning series in India, and started, of course, we were already, and then winning abroad, started winning the odd test matches abroad, World Series. So I think it was a really nice kind of build into what happened over the next 3 or 4 5 years. One of the things I saw change quite a lot, actually, in a funny kind of way, you know. Everyone gave a follow-on. So in some ways, I was not surprised that Australia gave us a follow-on. You know, I like thought they would, because, you know, they're like, you know, I thought they would, and I think in some ways you started seeing teams being more circumspect about giving the follow-on. I think the stats and the data, I'm not 100% sure about the stats and the data they're on in, but it certainly felt like after that teams were a bit more wary of giving the follow-on, and especially in subcontinental conditions. I think we started doing that less. I think as an Indian team, we started recognizing that there's probably no need to give a follow-on that much when you have so much time left in the game. I think time is a crucial factor in these things, and the fact that there was so much time left in the game, teams then I think have approached that quite differently. So in some ways, the fallout of that match, if there was anyone, was that fact. I think people have looked at the follow-on slightly differently. I have the bat. I have the bat somewhere tucked in somewhere. I don't know where it is. I have a couple of things from that test match. So maybe at some stage I might keep them somewhere. But they're in a box somewhere, and I've got the bat and got a few other things. I don't think that there was anything in particular. We didn't discuss the batting positions and that kind of thing. And it's a long time ago as well. It's hard to. It's hard to kind of remember every single detail. To be very honest, but it was one of those things, right? I just think we got together, knew we had to compete, we had to fight. Maybe the history of having us done it before for sort of South Zone before helped, and I think just we were competing, right? I think we were competing and playing and trying to just keep fighting and slowly building a partnership. And I think just remember really encouraging each other, supporting each other through that partnership. That for me was a highlight really. I think that we kept encouraging each other, we kept reminding each other what is important. And as the partnership went, I think really started enjoying it, because when you get into some of these partnerships, and when you're in the middle of a big partnership, you want it to continue, right? Because it's like a lot of control. You're constantly going to get the strike back. You're able to give the strike back. It's not like you're just batting. You don't have to think about too many things when these partnerships develop. So it's nice to be a part of it, and just sort of just trying to ensure that I didn't get out so that we could keep the partnership going. On day 5, the wicket was turning, was keeping low, and Harbhajan Singh was bowling beautifully. The top of his game. Again, that's a phenomenal story, right? For Bhaji, to have had issues with his action, and then to come back. Anil Kumble not being there, was our premier #1 spinner. Bhaji got support from other people, but really he had to bear the load in that series. And for a young man to bear that load in the series the way he did was phenomenal, right? Me and Laxman, to be honest, had some experience, right? We were slightly, I wouldn't say we were, veterans, but we were 4 or 5 years down the road in international cricket. Bhaji was, just making a comeback series under a lot of pressure. There was uncertainty whether he might be in the team at the start of the series, only because he bowled really well in the board game that he got picked into this team. So he had a phenomenal series and bowled really well, and this kind of competitiveness and the way he spun around Australia was phenomenal. For a young man, it was truly incredible, one of those incredible performances in Indian cricket. That 32 or I don't know exact number, but 32 or 31 wickets that he took. Must go down as one of those incredible feats in Indian cricket. In a test match like this, right, obviously a lot of the focus is going to remain on Laxman, Harbhajan and myself, right? For obvious reasons, right? But like you said, there were people who made really incredible impact. Sachin's wickets were absolutely critical after tea, right? We don't get those wickets, and especially getting Gilchrist out, it was a huge wicket. And then like you said, Venki batting and sort of holding his court. 40 over. Some of the catching in that game, the Gangulis, Ramesh, some really good catches. Really good captaincy by Saurav. So all of these 48. I think sort of there were people who chipped in, right? And in some ways it felt like a total sort of team effort at the end of it. But of course, when you have a couple of big performances like that, then people tend to recognize and remember those. So.